Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for coming to our official board meeting for November the 20th, 2024. Who could believe Christmas is so near? Will you please rise and honor our flag? Thank you. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This has been an exciting day already. The students at this school singing those sweet melodies warmed my heart, warmed our heart, and has helped me to get into the Christmas mood because I didn't realize that we were so close to Christmas. You gotta excuse me. I think I'm one of those that get the message late. But anyway, I would like to have our meeting start with our land acknowledgement. Dr. Ann Revere will honor us with that. Thank you.
The Buffalo City School District respectfully acknowledges the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, on whose ancestral territory our schools were built. We honor and pay tribute to the indigenous ancestors of the land we use. We acknowledge the historic, intergenerational traumas they have endured and offer hope and opportunities for healing and reconciliation as we go forward together. One key Haudenosaunee principle is to live in peace and harmony with each other and with the natural world. All life should be respected and cared for because what happens to one living thing affects all living things. We are grateful for the abundant natural resources in this land of the Haudenosaunee people and for all who work to protect these resources. We acknowledge the Haudenosaunee people as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land and water, and we are grateful for the opportunity to live, work, and educate our children on this ancestral land.
Thank you, Dr. Ann Revere. Madam Superintendent, would you help us with the board recognition?
Sure. First, I'd like to ask if the esteemed principal, Marquita Bryant, would come forward. You know, this is such a special place, and she is just a gift leading this school. And Mr. Freeberg, her assistant principal, who's her right hand, who's here and doesn't even feel great, but he had to be here tonight. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to exist here tonight in your school. It was so joyful, all of the smiles on the children's faces, the many parents as I'm looking out who came out to support your children tonight. And please tell your engineer that the school looks amazing. It looks amazing. So I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you so very much, Superintendent, Madam President, and esteemed board members for joining us at Olmsted School 64. And a special shout out to my team because this does not happen alone. Mr. Freeberg, thank you. He's very sick and he's still here. And of course, I do want to shout out, I don't see Mrs. Salas here right now, but our chorus students and our onstage ensemble, they did a wonderful Christmas concert in the hallway before everything started. So shout out, really special shout out to our parents as well, because they joined us to sing Christmas carols along with the students. So thank you so very much to our parents. You're really appreciated. Thank you so very much. And at this, before I forget, board members, I hope you do enjoy. Thank you so much for our WASET program. We've been using it with fidelity. I hope you're very proud of us. So on behalf of Olmsted 64, we do have small trinkets on the table for you guys from our 3D printers. So what's really great about the WASET program, and even some of our kits, is that the WASET kits that you have there are from the 3D printers, and they can be used across multiple content areas. So whatever they're doing, whether it's research-based, science, social studies, math, etc., they can make a prototype to go along with it. So please accept that on behalf of our school. And of course. And at this time, I want to turn it over to our director, Mr. Mudd, in the Fiddle Club. Our Fiddle Club here is a small part of our students. We have over 120 students at Olmsted 64 that do actually play instruments. This is one of our clubs, the Fiddle Club. I hope you guys enjoy.
So I would be remiss not to recognize the principal in her efforts to bring science, technology, engineering, art, and math to this building. I think it was in 2019 or maybe 18. In 18, we went to a meeting at the Science Museum for Western New York STEM, and she fell in love with that meeting, and she came back and introduced it to her staff and started talking, and she spent the school's money, their own personal money, to start buying things, the money that they had accumulated on their own. And during 514, right after 514, she launched the first STEM or WAZED initiative, or very similar to that, in his district. And it helped my grandson to come back to school because he had experienced a part of the massacre at Tops. And they had printed nameplates for the guests that day, Dr. Williams. And I don't know, I think you were there with us. And Mason did not want anyone else to present the nameplate that he had presented, so we were able to get him to come back to school because he had suffered that week after that shooting, being very close in proximity to that. And so the efforts here, my history with this school goes back to my own children. My son Khalil was the first student to have a fundraiser and purchase a computer for the Buffalo Public Schools. It was an article in the newspaper. I was part of the PTA. They raised the money, and 64 was the first school in Buffalo to have the first computer purchased in our district. And that's a long time ago, okay? But I just want you to know that there's a steep history here. Parent involvement has always been great. I have 2 grandchildren here. I've had a total of 4 grandchildren in this, plus my own sons. So it's been a great experience, and I want to thank you for the work that you do. Your staff, I don't know, it's a spirit in here, a culture in this building that is just phenomenal. And they do have the can-do spirit, and they just do it. And they went to Salamanca to see what WAZED was about, and it's just been, ever since then, it's just been moving forward. So thank you so much for providing excellence in this building, you and your staff. I just had to put that in there. Sorry, Superintendent, your turn.
Well deserved, well deserved. You know, I just want to, before we move on to the next section, just give it up for the children again, because we know how hard it is. Just English language arts and reading, but they were reading music, you know, and they were listening and just paying attention to the music teacher who was directing them, and the number of hours of practice that must have taken. And it is not easy to perform in front of your parents, who can sometimes be your biggest supporter and your biggest critic, you know, and performing in front of leaders in the school district. And they just did it magnificently. And I just want to say also ditto to everything that our board president shared. I know that the whole board feels the same way about the work that you are leading here at the Olmsted School 64. It is life-changing. So thank you very much. All right, so it's time for one of my favorite parts of the meeting, but tonight it is bittersweet. It's board recognition time. And we have 2 board members that have, you know, been with me since my start in this position, and this will be the last board meeting. Although we may see them, you know, in a different capacity in the audience or coming up, but tonight we have Dr. Rivera here and Mr. Hurd, who could not be here, but you know, one of the most important things, I've never been a school board member, but I can imagine that one of the most difficult things you have to do is to hire a superintendent. And I will always be humbly appreciative to those that sat on this board and took a chance on me on March 3rd, 2022. You both, you and Mr. Hurd, have just been champions for education for all of our children in the Buffalo Public Schools, and especially for those that have the most needs. And I know that Mr. Hurd is not here, but I also know that the meeting is being recorded, so hopefully he will hear a couple of words that I just want to share. He has worked in various capacities on this board since I've sat in this seat, including, I believe he worked with the Erie County School Board Association at one point, and the athletic committee that he was so dedicated to. And I know that he will continue, you know, as he always has in the community. Almost every meeting that I go to, I see Mr. Hurd there. I don't even know how he has the time to go to all of the events that showcase our children, but somehow or other, he does. If you ask him, he will be there, and I believe that that's going to continue. And to Dr. Rivera, you know, you served some time as the chair of Executive Affairs while I was in this seat, and you worked real closely with me on my first superintendent evaluation as a new superintendent. And I will always appreciate the guidance, all of our conversations, our coffee meetings at Spot and at Costa's, your passion for ensuring that we all stay attuned to all of the children, and especially our exceptional children, is just second to none. And so, you know, we have a couple of special gifts, one for you and one for Board Member Hurd. I know that, you know, his is at the office. He'll come down and pick it up, but I want to present you with your gift. And I just want to say for both of you, thank you very much for serving this district very well over the last 5 years. People don't realize how difficult the work is that you do, and that in addition to the work that you do here on behalf of all of the children in this district, you do have lives, you know, you do have careers, you do have families, and, you know, many times you're often volunteering, doing other things, and then I guess every now and then you try to have a bit of a social life too. So, you know, I know that the work that you have done has not been easy. You know, you may not always agree, but you stuck to it. And I will always appreciate both you and Board Member Hurd. So I have a small gift on behalf of the Buffalo Public School District. It's not Tanja Williams. It is, you know, all of the team, all of the staff in this district. On behalf of all of the children and the parents, I have something I'd like to present you with.
Right backstage. You need a buckle of that time. Can we get you guys in the back for a picture with Dr. Rivera and her buffalo? With your buffalo. With your buffalo.
No, that's happy. I wouldn't want to consider it.
So as the kids would say, speech, speech, speech.
Yeah, I'm envisioning this on my desk in my office. I think my students will be overwhelmed by it. I'm really overwhelmed by this. You may or may not know, but Buffalo is, I didn't grow up here. Buffalo is my adopted place. I came here for my PhD in 1997, and Buffalo embraced me, embraced my children. I started with the Buffalo Public Schools 19 years ago when my son was pushed out of a school. And I called in tears, very much like tonight. I'm an emotional person. And they found a place for him. Not only did they find a place for them, they found a place for him where he graduated. He graduated with a local diploma, and he was encouraged every step of the way. We had troubles too, but BPS never said to us once, he does not belong here. And I want to see that for all our students, and it's really important that I was able to do this. Thank you.
So board members, maybe we need to let Ann regroup, and at the end of our meeting, I think each one of us should give her a salutation before she goes. How's that? Okay, so we'll let you regroup. I know the Sagittarius in you.
Okay. I have just a couple more. Only very special people get the buffalo, the real nice big buffalo. And we have an associate superintendent of school leadership, Mr. Rafael Perez. And you just don't rise to be appointed as an associate superintendent. Anything that has the word superintendent in it means that you've done some things to prove yourself. It is really the culmination of undergraduate and graduate education and degrees, proven leadership positions, a variety of training and professional development, and just ample time in the trenches. And Mr. Perez leads our principal leaders, and he has done so remarkably. And it's been during some very challenging times that he stepped into his role. This year, he has been leading a combination of both elementary schools and high schools. And you all know our principals. They're passionate, and they question. And he always steps up. Anything that I ask of Associate Perez, he does. He does so with excellence and loyalty and commitment. He has given us 11 years of his life. He is so very well respected in our district and in the community, especially the Hispanic community. And I want to let you know, Associate Perez, I will miss getting those text messages from you leading with hola. And I will miss your voice of reason in our meetings. But know this, that we all wish you nothing but the absolute best on your future endeavors. Thank you for a job well served. I have something for you. Please come forward. This is a special cabinet, you all, I'm telling you. You know, it really is. Wait a minute, I want to get into.
Watch your step though over here. It really does belong to you.
While everyone is going back to their seats, because the last two are just, it's really just me sharing some words. Oh, I'm sorry. Associate Perez, would you like to? Always prepared. That's my cabinet.
All right. I always wanted one of these. I'm a very proud Buffalonian, a proud Latino, proud to be part of this family. I'm also thinking about how it's going to look in my office on my desk, but that'll be for just 2 weeks. Because then I'm going to take it with me and I'll put it right on my bed. Be reminded every day of the greatness that's happening in Buffalo. Dr. Williams, you are the reason why I chose to join the cabinet. I've told you this plenty of times. You mentioned that they're special people. I believe you are the most special. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. I truly do believe it. And I think everybody else in this room and in Buffalo knows it also. Board members, I want to thank you for your support, for your guidance, especially you, Board Member McCosey. You know, we've been at it since 16, sorry, but I've appreciated everything that you bring to the table, and I've learned to really respect every person that is sitting at that table. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with great principals, such as Principal Bryant. Go Owls. Swag on, BS 64. Thank you for allowing me to work with great principals, with great division administrators, and to be part of making my hometown a great place. To my OSL family, Chief Jezanowski, Darlene, sorry if I mentioned first names, but this is also personal. Chief Jezanowski, ASL Murray, Karen, ASL Watson, Charlene, thank you, and ASL Shedrick. We know that she's going through a tough time, and we will be there for her. We will lift her through this. Dr. Shedrick, if you're watching this, we love you and we got your back, and that's forever. I've created relationships in this district that will carry on forever. But my OSL family, you guys are the ones, they're right here, that helped me become a better ASL. Director Marianne Dixon, Supervisors Larashi and Walsh, and what I call the office managers, Janice Spencer, Gladys Marrero, Tammy Parsons, and Marlene Rowe. They made my job much easier. To the cabinet members, I want to thank you for your support, your guidance, your wisdom, whenever I needed it, on whatever day, at whatever time. Not too happy that they're called chiefs. I'd be happy if they were called commanders, something else, but I hate to, Every time I went to that office and I saw chief, 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 I thought I was in Kansas City. So anyways, okay, exactly. I am grateful for the past 11 years, for the great moments, and even the heartbreaking moments, because we've had some of those as well. They've all helped me, form me to become who I am today. And it was like my favorite ride at Darien Lake. Anybody know what my favorite ride is? It's not the Superman, it's the Mind Eraser. But I am at a point in my life where my family and my personal needs and wants and desires, they're outweighing my professional needs. And it wasn't an easy decision, but I know it's the right decision. I ask that you continue to develop, foster, cultivate, and build upon what our students bring to the table. Build upon their experiences. I hope that we never get to a point where we judge somebody based on how much English they know. My mother was judged like that back in the 50s. When she got here from 6th grade, because she didn't know English, she was put into 2nd grade. I ask that you always keep the needs of, I know that you keep all needs in mind, but I really ask that you keep the needs and you always consider the needs of our bilingual families and of our L's. Please always keep that in mind, as well as the needs of everybody in the district. Wednesdays were my unfavorite day of the week, except the 4th Wednesday of the month, but I'm falling back in love with Wednesdays again. All I can say is gracias por todo, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a healthy and safe 2025. Go BPS and go Bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent Perez. I just have 2 more recognitions, and neither of the people that I will mention are here, but I would be remiss if I didn't share a little something. One of our principals, Mr. Thomas Vitale, he's an irreplaceable, and he's scheduled to retire at the end of the month. And I have known Principal Vitale and worked with him and held great admiration for him for more than 25 years. We served on executive committee for the BCSA together some years ago, but it's his work at our very own Occupational Training Center as the principal for more than 25 years that I most admire. He started his career at Seneca. I didn't know that until he shared that today, Seneca High School. And this past year, I had the chance to attend the graduation ceremony at OTC, as we affectionately call it. And when I tell you that the love, respect, and admiration that his students and his families had for him and for all of the staff at that school, it was really something to witness. There were smiles, tears, pride, and laughter, all of joy. He is not only a principal for his students, but he is a mentor principal to many of our other principals. He has this calm and knowledgeable wisdom about him that is often sought after. In total, Principal Vitale has given 40 years, 40, to the Buffalo Public Schools. And I just want to, on behalf of our board and all of our children and families, say thank you for your intellect, insight, experience, and dedication. And I don't know if you all know, but I believe he plays in a band too, and he plays the sax. It's something to see. It really is. But he is just the epitome of what a principal needs to be, And thankfully, his legacy is going to continue because his daughter also now works for the school district. So, Mr. Vitale, we wish you well. We wish you the best health and happiness as you move into 2025 and new endeavors in your life. And then finally, something came across my desk, and I had to read this at the board meeting, and it is for First Sergeant Frazier. And he works with the United States Army as a JROTC instructor, and he was named the United States Army JROTC Instructor of the Year for 2023-2024 of the year. You were found by the Army to be the best out of 2,000 instructors nationwide. This is an incredible honor and a true reflection of what we are so fortunate to see in the Buffalo Public School System. We are proud of the work that you do and the role model that you are. You make the difference in the lives of so many students each and every day, and we just want to thank you for making the decision to give back after your successful military career. Thank you so much, First Sergeant Frazier. That concludes all of my recognitions.
So in regards to First Sergeant Frazier, Paulette Woods and I attended their annual dining out, and 160 JROTC candidates exist at Hutch Tech, and it was just a phenomenal experience. I can only tell you that if we had more opportunity for more students to participate in that area, I think we would be on the right path. And so we'll try working on that to see what we can do with that. But it was a phenomenal experience, and there was so much love, and the students actually enjoyed themselves, were enjoying themselves, and it was fun to see. I want to also just say something briefly about Tom Vitale. Since I've been on the board, Tom has just been he's just a consistent supporter of children with special needs, and he always has ideas and solutions to help to improve things. So he promised that he's only a call away, but he would not retire until he felt comfortable that the position was in the hands of someone who would do a very good job. So he feels that he's leaving our children and our students in the best hands that can possibly exist. So we want to thank them. We're losing a lot of capital today. I think our stock would go down. However, we know that we can always find someone to step in those shoes to at least hold us steady until we get past Mr. Perez leaving us, because que pasa, mi amigo? What's going on? You know what I mean? Tammy, Salsa's here. You cannot retire without helping Tammy and I on an initiative we've been talking about doing for years. It is to work with our young Hispanic women to try to get them, similar to what we're doing, Big Sisters, Little Sisters, trying to get something up for that population. If you look at our data, we want to work harder in that area. And so Anna's over there shaking her head with the name Rivera over there. So we got another candidate who will help us. So we're going to work with that to try to see what we can do with our Latinx sisters and see what we can do with those babies. Okay, I am going to waive tonight the reading of the speaker's requirement unless we get into a situation during this meeting where I need to. And the reason that I feel I can waive it tonight is because we have all family speaking tonight. There's not one person that is not part of the Buffalo Public Schools family and has proven themselves to be. And so for that reason, because we're celebrating the holiday, I just feel that if it's okay, I will not read that declaration about decorum, and that we will just move forward with our first speaker. Okay? Janie Lawson, teacher, Trump decision on DOE. Are you here, Ms. Lawson, teacher Lawson? Okay. Next, Tamir Alsasa, concerned citizen, retired Buffalo Public School teacher, administrator, and advocate. Immigrant students and families is her topic.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity, Superintendent and Board. My name is Dr. Tamar Arsase, and I live at 1128 Parkside Avenue in Buffalo. I'm a retiree of BPS, serving for over 33 years. But for the past 5+ years, I've been an associate investigator with the City University of New York Initiative on Immigration and Education, or CUNY. We work with a team to develop resources for schools on current immigration topics and ways to support immigrant origin students and families in schools. I signed up to speak today because of the growing anti-immigrant rhetoric being espoused by elected officials and community members across the nation, and the effects that this vitriol has on our students and families. Many in our community may feel anxious, afraid, or uncertain. I also hope to inspire the district to take a proactive approach in safeguarding our immigrant origin students and families in the days and weeks leading up to a planned mass deportation effort by the incoming federal administration and the anti-immigrant sentiment that will likely be pervasive over the next several years. We must act to ensure that our students, regardless of immigration status, are receiving the highest quality education, and that school remains a safe place that's welcoming, inclusive, and supportive. We don't know how many undocumented students we have because it's usually unreported for fear. But based on Census Bureau estimates, we probably have a few thousand students in our district who are either undocumented or who have at least one parent who is undocumented. Many districts, for example, New York and others, have detailed plans to inform school leaders, personnel, and families about ways to protect students from unlawful activities by the law and immigration enforcement. And although State Ed hasn't issued any guidance yet to date, because they issued a memo on February 27, 2017, we can presume that that's still in effect. It was a joint letter by the Office of the Attorney General and the State Education Department, making sure that schools remain safe havens where all students can learn. So all school personnel must be aware of the rights and protections guaranteed by law and federal policies. For example, privacy protections under FERPA, students' rights to attend school based on the Supreme Court decision in Plyler versus Doe in 1982, and that non-local law enforcement like ICE are not permitted on school premises. Schools are protected areas, and they can't enter schools without a warrant, court order, subpoena, etc. So I wonder, does BPS have a protocol? And if there is one, it's critical that all staff, particularly those staff that are at the entrance of schools or in the main office, are familiar with the protocol and procedures to follow. If there is no protocol, one needs to be developed right away before there's a need to enforce it. Educators and school leaders also need to know what they can do, what supports are out there for them. And CUNY, the project I work with, and the Immigration Coalition, ACLU, and other organizations have a number of free tools and resources. Lastly, the district needs to support families with Know Your Rights workshops in multiple languages, a guide or list of resources, something to support them. I personally commit to volunteering to help in any way I can. Should the district decide to tackle this in the weeks to come, I'm happy to help, and I hope to work with you to address these critical concerns. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
And I did bring a copy of the state ed last memo and New York City letter to principals in case you wanted that. Yeah. Thank you.
Staff will make sure that we receive that. Thank you, Dr. Osasa. Next, our speaker, Ed Spadell, parent, truth about modified sports, football.
Last week, the district held a work session where we spoke about modified sports. As one of the only two parents that attended modified sport meetings, I found it highly offensive that one of the presenters didn't know anything about the football program that we were developing as a district. I have a few problems with what happened. One, in June of 2022, we did a survey. The parents spoke on what they wanted. There's no need for a survey. Secondly, we're doing a new survey, and we're asking our children what sport they want to play and not asking the parents if they can play those sports. Like, why aren't we involved in a survey? If we had no plan, why did we have a $300,000 PO for football equipment? We also had a plan for 5 trailers that were going to be on school grounds, not on Buffalo, City of Buffalo grounds. They were going to be on school grounds because the kids are going to get their equipment and go into the school and change. Let's see. We're supposed to move flag football to the spring because that's when the state has flag football for high school. So we're supposed to move that to the spring. We had 20 to 25 coaches were trained. They came in, they were notified of all the rules for football. Roughly 10 to 15 of those coaches were youth football coaches in Buffalo. If we really want to know all the details of the football program, why don't we just ask Mike to give us the program, bring him back, Mike House, and we'll talk and have him explain it again. I believe that it's a personal thing. Everything that's going on is personal, and the athletic department knows we were planning on having football for our children. And then I'm offended that only principals get to decide what sports are allowed in our buildings. We spent $40,000 on cornhole tables, and our district still hasn't found the ability to go to Section 6 and tell them that we want to be the test market for cornhole for the state of New York. We could be the test market, but I'm not hearing anything about that. We have the ability to do that. We don't need to go to volleyball. We don't need to go to bocce ball that other districts are testing. Cornhole is the game of the future. We should be testing it in our schools by the end of this year, if not the beginning of next year. There's no reason for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spadell. Well, we have a welcome guest and the posse that follows with her. The Fisher kids, they are turning into public speakers. I think that's important, that they are comfortable with speaking in front of people. It'll go far in life. First speaker is Ma Bear. Melina. Second is Marcos. Antonio El Sandro. And the Princess Diana.
Good evening. I just want to say what a great job the youth orchestra did, and as an adult that went through a youth orchestra program myself, it was amazing to see that, and what a great job they did. This evening, I would like to talk about some concerns that we're seeing through CPAC regarding families. One of the primary concerns that we're starting to see in CPAC is the amount of CPSE to CSE meetings that are being held out of compliance, where the required members are not in attendance. We recently had a parent who attended their transition meeting where only the chair and an SLP were present. If anybody didn't know, that is not the required members. And at that meeting, she was denied OT services until she had to pull the card that the meeting was being held out of compliance. And once that card was pulled, then she was given her OT services. But why does it need to get to this point? Why are we holding meetings out of compliance? Additionally, I attended another CSE meeting where, again, iReady was told to be unreliable scoring for students. If iReady is unreliable, then why are we spending money on it? We are in a deficit. Why spend money on something that parents are going to be told is unreliable and that data is not a true reflection of the children's capabilities? It's unfair for them to come to the table and be told that their piece of the puzzle is completely invalid. Additionally, we recently had a meeting at CPAC where we had Sam White from Western New York Law Center give a presentation. And during this presentation, we had numerous parents come to us where we're calling dojo suspensions. They're receiving messages, come pick up your kid, keep your kid home for a couple of days. Dojo suspensions need to stop. They're illegal suspensions. And by doing this, we are not giving parents the data that they need to be able to get the services for their children that they need. They can't go to the pediatricians. They can't go to the psychologists because they don't have that data. All they have is a text message saying, keep your kid home. Additionally, this past June, I was really excited because you guys approved the funding for Letters. Letters is such a great program. It is a monitoring that can be done for students to see if they have the foundational reading blocks necessary. But unfortunately, out of 5 schools so far where I've had parents request that, they've been told that they are not allowed to do it. So again, another program that we're funding that teachers are telling parents cannot be used. Why are we spending money on these programs that can't be used? I would like to thank you guys, though, for all of your work, and I appreciate all of the co-collaboration that we've had, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Tag team, Marcos, followed by Antonio, Alejandra, and then the Princess Diana.
Hi, my name is Marcos. Good evening. Today I will be talking about how elementary schools need more security officers. They only have one security officer in these schools, and the security officer can't reach the kids that are being bad, and the security officer can't reach them at the same time, so we can stop the kids that are fighting or being really rude. So can we please get more? My mistake. My name is Marcos. Good evening. Today I'll be talking about how elementary schools need more security officers. I went to a DPC meeting in November where Mr. Wagstaff talked about security. In this meeting, he talked about high schools being looked at. But there are a lot of elementary schools that need help now. Elementary schools only have one officer. Instead of just looking at high schools first, could we look at everyone and focus on the schools that need the most help? Both high schools and elementary. I'd like to thank Mr. Wagstaff for taking the time in November. It was a great presentation. Have a great holiday and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Next up, Antonio.
Good evening. My name's Antonio. I'm talking about the athletics. I really enjoyed flag football, but was sad learning 6th grade is not included in baseball. Could 6th grade be included or a program for us be made? I'd really like to be a part of all of the sports. The other thing I want to talk about is how good the flag football program. There was 5 different types of teams, north, south, west, east, and central. I played for South Buffalo, and our team ended our season with a victory. There were sections, big kids versus big kids, and little kids versus little kids. The little kids team I was on, and we're undefeated until our two last games at Highmark Stadium where the Buffalo Bills played. And in my team's last game, we stepped it up and we won, and it was 68-28, and the big kids tied it up with 28-28. And I was the quarterback for the little kids. I really want to say thanks to Dr. Reynolds for a great program and letting us play at Highmark Stadium. It was really cool to play where the Bills play. Merry Christmas.
So I'm talking about Big Brother, Big Brother.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Ajala. Today I would be talking about how good School 67 is. School 67 is one of the best schools because the literacy nights are so fun because you get to make snowmans and so much more. My art teacher will let one table color eat lunch with her. My school even has a friendship club. During our ready placement test, we have a brain break. I also thought that it was great of Mr. Zeiss to offer to help my mom run family events at other schools. That might need support so all families can go to events like 67 has. Thank you for your time and wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gianna. I am a student in School 17. I would like to thank the district and Dr. Jen Rich for all their hard work with the Saturday Academies. My family has gone to North Park East High School and South Park High School Saturday Academies. All of them had great activities for families. The farmers market has been great. Thanks for the food. I will like to also thank our community partners who came to Saturday Academy and helped make it awesome. It was also fun to see some of you board members there as well, especially Miss Shuda. Thanks you for your time. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. See, this is what family looks like. Our next family member is Khadisha Hassan, parent on wellness, and followed by Jessica Bauer Walker, parent and commissary and suspensions. Welcome, Khadijah.
Thank you. Ms. Kama, it's been years. You gotta get my last name right. It's just, so I'm Khadija Hussein. I am a proud parent of a kindergarten student at School 61, gifted and talented. Before I address my main topic, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the incredible staff at School 61 for all the great work you do for our children. Though our Author Eve community is saddened by the news of our wonderful Principal Barnes leaving, we wish him all the best in his future endeavors, and he will be greatly missed. We are truly grateful for all the remarkable experiences he has provided for our children. The kids and I always looked forward to his monthly read-along sessions that he did live on Facebook for us. The community at his new school is so lucky to have him. Today, I just want to emphasize the importance of considering cultural and religious diversity as we think about the next step for our new food commissary building. Our communities are still concerned about the board appointing individuals to this project without ensuring that they have the necessary knowledge regarding the needs of the community. From my understanding, a community benefit agreement is meant to give community members the opportunity to contribute to the planning process and ensuring the project genuinely benefits the communities. While I wish I could say that I do have clarity around this situation, I don't. I guess how can we just say that a community benefit agreement exists when the most important parties involved are not adequately included in the early planning stages and decisions that have already been made? When our community members regularly urge the board to involve us in shared decision-making, we are typically referring to the very beginning of the process, from the moment ideas are conceived and not when most decisions are already finalized. This project is extremely important to our Buffalo community, and as you may know, Buffalo is a richly diverse area, particularly within our public schools. How is the district ensuring that they listen to the thoughts and opinions of various individuals? How is the district ensuring that voices representing different cultures and religion backgrounds are being acknowledged and taken into consideration? There are organizations and individuals in our communities that are directly engaging with various members to understand our community's specific needs, and they should already have a seat at the table as we continue planning for this project, but they currently do not. How is the district guaranteeing that the individuals they appoint truly understands what a community benefit agreement entails and are knowledgeable about the actual needs of the community? I would like to conclude my remarks by thanking Ms. Ruth Connor, the Director of Food Service, for putting our children and families first and for always being receptive to feedback and considering every suggestion made. You and your team play a vital role, and Aisha wants you to know that the food staff service, your food service staff at School 61 are exceptional, and they do deserve a raise. Thank you.
Khadijah Hussein. How's that? Did I get it right? I got it right? I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Thank you. Jessica Bauer Walker, parent, commissary, and suspensions are her topic.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much. Good evening. Jessica Barr Walker, parent and co-chair of the Community Health Worker Parent and Student Association. Wanted to thank Dr. Rivera and Mr. Hurd for their service as public service with a very challenging environment that you work in, and hope to see you on the family community side. And wishing all of our administrators that are moving on well, and thanking everybody in Buffalo Public Schools as we close out the year and are in the holiday season for all the work you do. Lifting up especially those folks that are often not recognized, my fellow parent leaders, Parent Congress, who works tirelessly day in and day out, solving problems and looking out for some of our most marginalized families, our food service workers, our building maintenance staff, all those people that really go the extra mile to provide support and services for all of our families. So I'm talking about two different topics tonight that seem maybe different, the commissary and suspension, but they're really connected in terms of our need to work collaboratively and have engagement versus involvement. So we're making a request as parents and advocates. Today, I sent a letter to the board and superintendent and cabinet members related to the commissary. And again, very supportive of this project and hopeful that it's moving forward. It's hard to know exactly where it is. We do appreciate that there was a public meeting where information was shared. But really would like an update on the status of the Commissary Construction Advisory Committee and assurance that we will have the appropriate expertise. This project has been slowed down due to lack of the expertise, and we don't expect the district to have all of this internal expertise. It would be impossible to do so. So we have a nutrition committee. We have people who've been working on this and advocating and for over a decade. So we sent a list of potential stakeholder groups and offering our assistance. So we hope the board will be mindful of that as you are working to establish a commissary construction advisory committee. Secondarily, just wanted to lift up the issue of suspension, which is still a significant problem. You heard my colleague Maylena speak before about these unofficial suspensions. I've dealt with a handful of families, including our own youth community health workers who are trained in this, who've been suspended this year. This is really a systemic problem. I trust that people do not want to suspend children and are doing their best. We do not have the infrastructure we need for suspension prevention and diversion, and we're dealing with a lot of situations where children are being sent home in ways that are unlawful, where there's children who have IEPs and 504s or undiagnosed issues that are being punished instead of helped, and we have disparate outcomes in terms of children being suspended with disabilities, who are Black, who are low income. This is a civil rights issue. We're asking the district to address it with urgency. I understand there's some work that's happening, but it's significant, it's not enough. So again, those of us that are advocates and experts work together to update a white paper and research that we've done around this topic which was sent in October. We've done quite a bit of media and public advocacy around this and would love to collaborate with the district so that we can keep our children in school. Thank you very much, and happy holidays for all that are celebrating.
Thank you, Jessica Bauer Walker. Dr. Tanya Williams-Knight, do you have a response for our speaker?
Sure. Thank you so much, Board President. I'll start with Dr. Alsalce. It's been a while since I've seen you. You're looking great. And I want to thank you for offering your services, your expertise in helping to ensure that, you know, all of our staff continue to either be informed. I mean, we've gotten lots of new staff. We always do. We're a large school district. But, you know, for those staff that have already been trained on some protocols, just kind of as a reminder on the safeguarding, it is so important. And so I never turn down when we get people, especially folks that have been a part of the Buffalo Public Schools family and understand the needs and all that we're dealing with. And so we will be reaching out to see how we can further that conversation. We certainly do make sure that we adhere strictly to our FERPA laws and all of those things, but reminders are always good. You know, you can never, ever do too much in ensuring the safeguarding of all of our children and staff in our schools. So we'll reach out to you on that, and it was good to see you this evening. Mr. Spidell, so you shared some things regarding the committee meeting that was held last week, and I believe that one of our supervisors, director, and our chief of athletics were all a part of, you know, the presentation that was shared. And, you know, what I want to share is that, you know, we never said that, you know, there was no plan. We said we don't have evidence of the plan. And, you know, I shared that night that the Buffalo Public Schools is always seeking to get better and better and better. And so, you know, with respect to our modified sports and the presentation that you heard, I can assure you there was nothing personal. There's nothing that's, you know, being done to harm any children under my leadership, nor under Dr. Reynolds' leadership. We will never do something intentionally that harms any children. You mentioned that parents have not been asked regarding the survey, and that's an important piece. And I want to assure you, I spoke with Dr. Reynolds today, and although we've started with our children, because what we said when I first sat in this seat is that we would lift the voice of our students and our families. And so we started with our students. That's step one. But Dr. Reynolds shared with me today that the next step will be to reach out to parents. So, you know, I just ask before we conclusively, you know, say things, that we just seek to understand. We seek to work together, collaboratively. You know, that's my style. And so, you know, I think we have a meeting tomorrow, and we are always seeking to work collectively and collaboratively with parents. The way for something to become, I think, a Section 6 sport or to get approved is not necessarily for a principal to go to the Section 6 committee, but I would suggest that you have a meeting with Dr. Reynolds and maybe talk to her about what that process could look like. You know, I know that you've been an advocate for cornhole. I think Dr. Carestis did a remarkable magician act. He pulled a rabbit out of the hat. He found money to support it. We had a great time at last year's event at All High Stadium. The kids loved it. I loved it. It was great. It was fun. It was inclusive. And, you know, that's kind of the kind of administration that I like to lead, where we're working collectively, but we're not pointing fingers. We're all sitting around the table, and we're working together. We're working together on it. So, you know, I'm going to ask Dr. Reynolds to reach out so that she can specifically address some of the concerns that you shared tonight with us. For the dynamic Ayala family, I want to start by saying happy holidays to all of you, and thank you for coming out on this wintry night. And, just sharing some things. I'll start with Mrs. Ayala and the dojo suspension. I never heard that before, so that was an interesting, title, and I'll follow up on dojo suspensions because I don't condone dojo suspensions, so I will follow up on that. But as you were speaking, our chief academic officer was able to text and share with me that LETTERS is a professional development training, so it's not a curriculum or a program that will be taught, it's a training. And I'm going to ask her to maybe reach out to you so that you can sit with her and discuss what LETTERS is, and for the 5 schools that you mentioned that shared that they are not able to provide LETTERS, for us to problem solve and see how we can make sure that we're meeting the needs of those students with it. Marcos, boy, you mentioned something that I guess, was interesting. You want to see more security in elementary schools, and I hear you. I hear you on that. I can say that 2 years ago, we didn't have any. And so at least we have one, but certainly, as I shared a few moments ago with Mr. Spidell, the voice of our children resonate. And so when I hear from children what they feel the needs are, I hear that. I hear that very, very deeply. And so that's something, I want to acknowledge that this year is going to be another financial challenge, but, I hear that concern, and I just want you to know that 2 years ago we didn't have any, and at least now we do have one, and I heard your concerns today. And again, it takes great courage for children to come forward and to share what it is they feel the needs are in their schools. So I really appreciate that. And, Antonio, I wish we would have known about, you guys going to Highmark and you being the quarterback of the flag football team. We would have been there. We would have been there, but he gave kudos to Dr. Reynolds and, just for providing that kind of opportunity for children. And so when you mentioned, too, about the baseball, I know that, our board member Scott was probably, he had to just contain himself to sit quietly in his chair and hear, because he is advocating strongly for us to expand our modified sports program to include, is it softball or baseball? Both. Okay. All right. So hold tight to that. Hold tight. Because again, the voice of the children matter. We heard you tonight. And Alejandro, when you mentioned that School 67, which is a very special place, is just leading the charge with literacy nights. We call literacy lit. The young people say when things are lit, it's exciting, it's fun, it's interesting. So you have lit nights at School 67, and you love it, and I love hearing that, and I do hope that your principal Zeiss was listening tonight. If he wasn't, I see we have our associate Murray back there, and I know she's going to carry that message to him. And then you talked about the brain breaks. Don't we all need a brain break every now and then? Yes, we do. So, I appreciate that piece also. And then finally, for Deanna, you mentioned our Saturday academies, and they are fantastic. They are great. School 17, that's another kudos really for all of the staff and the board that goes out on these Saturdays to these academies. But this Saturday, we have something special going on at our Kearns Bowling Alley, and it is from 12 o'clock noon? 10 until 6. And at our last board meeting, we talked about bowling because our very own student board member mentioned that, he is the captain, right, of your bowling team. And we're going to have a good time out at Kearns. Board president is asking, what's his average? Okay, it's over 100, so you've got me beat. But thank you, Deanna, for sharing that, the Saturday academies are just another way of fellowshipping and learning. And so I always appreciate, Ms. Ayala, when you bring your children, because the voice of our children matter in this district. So thank you for bringing your children forward. And as the board president shared, it is helping them because it's not easy. People think it's easy to come in and come up to the microphone, look into the faces of 9 or 10, 11 people that you don't know that well, and to share your truths. And they do it, and they do it very, very well. And I'm seeing it getting better and better each time that they do. So thank you for bringing them out. I appreciate that. Got to hear from a couple of parents, and we certainly do appreciate the voice of our parents too. And Khadijah Hussein, I got it right? Okay. School 61 is really a school that is close to my heart. You know, my sister went to that school. I grew up in that neighborhood, so I know lots of the families that still live over there. And, you know, you have the benefit of having a dynamic principal and assistant principal and teachers, and they've got the arts program, they've got gifted and talented, it's the home of the butterflies. I mean, it's always something exciting happening at school number 61, and I know that all of that is going to continue. And I do hear the concern that you shared regarding the community benefits agreement, and you know, what I pledge, I know on behalf of the board, is that you know, we always listen. We hear when you're sharing concerns, and, you know, we try to deliver, but there may be times where, you know, there may be some difference of opinions, but certainly we always listen and we hear, and I respect and value, you know, when folks come forward and they share what it is from their perspective they believe will help to push this district forward. So thank you for coming out tonight. And Ms. Bauer-Walker, thank you for recognizing our outgoing board members. That means a lot, because I know that, you know, maybe you didn't always agree with all of the decisions, but the respect is there. I know that that goes both ways. And when you mention engagement versus involvement, my expectation is engagement. You know, that's what we want. And so, you know, the community meetings that we're hosting now came about as a result of things that were shared in the September board meeting. And we acted quickly. And, you know, we've been going out to the community every other month. We're going to continue to do so, you know, and it's not cherry-picked folks, it's open to whomever. And so I know that, you know, there are people that live in the community where the commissary will be built, that will be vested. There are, you know, just an array of folks. And each time it seems we get, you know, a few different people, and I think that's good. And I do expect, you know, the engagement piece to continue. You know, we've got a meeting. I continue to meet every other month with the Parent Congress, and so you have my ear. I think we're meeting again tomorrow morning. And so, you know, we'll continue to expand. I know that you've mentioned the advisory committee, and, you know, you have some thoughts. You have some thoughts on it, and I'm always willing to listen. You know, it is the will of the board, you know, who and how, you know, that work moves forward, but certainly your voice was heard tonight, and I'm sure, you know, we will continue to talk about it. Suspensions are a complex issue. I sat and I began reading the recommendations that were put forward in a huge document. And one of the things that the document talked about is that, you know, expecting that school districts will just on a pivot be able to change on their own is not really possible. You know, it's a whole community effort, and it takes the work of our post-secondary institutions with how they're teaching teachers how to work with our children. You know, it happens on a legislative level with looking at right now how the Education Law 3214 is written and what the law says, and if that is to be amended, you know, that's something that would have to happen there. So, you know, there's a lot that has to happen, but on boots on the ground levels in school districts, you know, it's going to take our parents and community working with the schools. And, you know, you all have been at the table, we're at the table, and we continue to peel the layer. We have seen some reduction in suspensions, but, you know, as we both agree, you know, we want to get to a place where we're looking at the root cause of the suspensions that are happening. So I just want to lift up and say that that document, it's a dense document, there's a lot in there, and it doesn't just lay all of the expectation on schools to stop doing so. It's a whole systemic change that has to happen for us to see lasting changes, that really impact students' lives the way that we want them to. So we'll continue. I know with Parent Congress, that's one of your linchpins. That's a big piece that, we talk about. And so, with the reductions we're seeing, I believe that, some of the things that you all are sharing with us, we're hearing. There are trainings that our principals are going through. But, I do say that we've got to start looking at our post-secondary institutions and how we're training new staff that are coming out of some of our colleges and how they work with our children and understanding the needs of our children and understanding restorative. That restorative is really much harder than suspending. It really is. It's not easy. It's not fluff. It's not bubble gum and whatever. It really is hard work. And when it's done properly, it can have a lasting impact, but it's going to take some time. We're a large school district. We're second largest in New York State. And so the staff is committed to working with that. And as you hear about those one-offs where there are dojo suspensions that are happening, Dr. Brown is a person that needs to hear that that's happening. Our ASLs need to know that there are dojo suspensions that are happening, and then we get in and we intervene and we coach and we support and we train, and it's not punitive, but we've got lots of new folks that we've hired, and we want to work with them so that we're making lasting and meaningful change for all of our children. So we continue to work at it. I know we'll be talking about it tomorrow morning, but thank you for coming, and if you do celebrate the holidays, happy holidays to you and your family also.
Thank you for that, Superintendent. Next up is our student representative with his update, Raihan Rashad.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Last week, because of the snow day, school had to be closed, and that led to our inner high meetings being canceled. It was disappointing, but we'll get back on track after the break. And I'll have more to share with you then, but looking ahead, I want to highlight something we're working on. Adnan, our media manager from Olmsted 156, is planning to gather photos and videos from our upcoming in-person events. The goal is to showcase inner high and promote it to more students and schools across Buffalo Public Schools. We want to build excitement, show what the program is about, and get more people involved. Since this is our last board meeting of the year, I want to take a moment to recognize the board members who are leaving us. I want to thank you on behalf of the Buffalo Public Schools student body for the time, effort, and dedication you have put in our schools. Your work have made a real impact, and we are grateful for everything you have done. We wish you nothing but success and happiness. Finally, with the holidays coming up, I want to wish everyone a happy, restful holiday season, whether you're celebrating or just taking the time to rest. I hope you enjoy the break and spend times with people who matters most. And thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year.
We love that guy. We love that guy. Raham, I think it's very innovative that you are doing a publicity campaign to promote the Inner High. In traveling to the conventions, maybe we can talk. I won't bother you during break, but maybe after break, we can talk about some of the student initiatives that are happening throughout the state and throughout the country to highlight student voices. And that was one of the things that was on the playlist, that you talk about yourselves and show what you're doing, introduce yourselves, and things like that. And so I'm very pleased to hear you're moving that way. I'd also like to talk to you for the possibility of having more clubs. What I'm seeing across the state is that there are a lot of clubs that are forming, and that keeps students from uh, getting involved in things that they shouldn't do. And so maybe we can talk more in the new year about that, especially at MST, since that's one of my schools and you're there. So I want to thank you for your excellence. We appreciate having you on the board. And we certainly wish you a blessed holiday season as well. Okay, we have the superintendent's update. This meeting is going pretty well. Superintendent's update, followed by, we'll move forward after that. Superintendent, does you have an update?
I do. It'll be brief, and some of it will be a recap from the committee meeting, but it is what we put on our monitoring calendar, and we intend to stick very closely to that monitoring calendar. And it's just sharing for this board an update on how the work of all of the cabinet members, they all oversee divisions and departments, how all of their work, whether instructional or operational, is aligned to helping to meet the goals that this board has set for me for this year. And I will briefly review what those goals are. For literacy, we said that we wanted 19.3% of our third graders who are economically disadvantaged to score proficiently on the New York State ELA assessment this spring. For numeracy, 26% of our grade 6 economically disadvantaged students would score proficient on the New York State math assessment in the spring of 2025. And then there are two high school goals. The first is that 39.5% of cohort 2024, which is our first-time freshmen, will pass at least one Regents exam by August of 2025, and 64% of cohort 2024 students, again, our first-time freshmen, will earn 5.5 credits by June of 2025. And so Chief Botticelli, who oversees our curriculum assessment and instruction, is going to just highlight for you how all of our departments are involved in this work.
Thank you. Good evening. Believe it or not, I'm not going to talk about the work of the curriculum team tonight. I'm going to speak to all the work that's happening across the district to make sure that our kids are going to be able to achieve the goals you've established. If you could go to the next slide, please. So as always, we are moving to the next level: one voice, one vision, one mission. Tonight, I'm going to stay focused on early rigorous elementary, trying to keep in perspective how that is impacted by all the other work that happens. Next slide, please. So in terms of our goals, our main focus tonight will be eliminating achievement and opportunity gaps and accessing educational excellence and accelerated learning. But I can't really focus on those two things without talking about prioritizing safety, security, and wellness, activating partnerships, and amplifying voices. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start with the Office of School Leadership. You've heard me say before that I visit schools with the ASL assigned to that particular building, and we continue to do that. We hit probably about 4 schools a week. We like to monitor instruction in the classrooms, share feedback with the administrative team, and support the teachers as they implement the programs. I'm not going to hit every bullet because we'd be here all night long because these divisions really do a lot of work. So I'm just going to give you a couple brief highlights. So one of the main things that this team does is meet with principals. So not only do they have them come in centrally for professional development opportunities, but they go out to the schools. They look at cohort reviews, which targets our grade 9 students as well as our seniors. They help schools identify who those targeted students are that are economically disadvantaged in the grade levels we've identified so that they can provide additional supports. They go to grade level meetings. They walk the building with the principals to help them focus on best practice and keeping fidelity to our programs. And they're constantly referencing DIBELS and other assessments to keep the data at the forefront. Next slide, please. Shared accountability, I mean, we could not do any of this work without the Office of Shared Accountability. They provide all of that data to us, right? So they keep the data dashboard going. They run constant reports, which we get to share with you. So without the work of the Office of Shared Accountability, we would not be able to monitor these goals at all. But beyond that, they also share data facing forward on the dashboard. They run data champions trainings. They actually run a scheduling training. So that office is constantly doing work to support the goals and making sure that we are on target.
And that's the work that Dr. Bullock's office
Yes,
leads?
this is Ebony Bullock's team, Ebony Bullock Prophet. CLRI under Chief Amos. I clipped this down. You wouldn't believe how much they do for the school system, but I was trying to keep it short and sweet. So they facilitate our disproportionality assessments, bringing all the school teams in to talk about what is happening in the building and how CLRI can impact that. They have guardians of equity at each school. They provide curriculum resources to our schools. So they have lessons through the emancipation curriculum. They have lessons through the Rising Voices collection. My reading team has taken the Rising Voices collection and used that as Read Aloud. So constantly embedding the work of CLRI within the district curriculum. Next slide, please. Student Support Services does so much, it took a few slides, but we'll talk briefly about attendance. They have a lot of attendance initiatives. They have leveled that into Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 strategies. And by Tier 3, they're actually conducting home visits, trying to really identify the targeted students with chronic and severe attendance issues and provide the supports that those students and families need to stay on track. In terms of suspensions, they are constantly providing trainings, levels of intervention supports, coaching support at the building level, and they have a new initiative, which is the suspension diversion program. Next slide, please. Sticking with this same division, they also work with the counselors. So the high school counselors constantly conduct credit reviews with students, and they have a tracking tool to help monitor whether students are on track for college and career readiness. We've talked about the lab minutes that we can monitor on data dashboard. They're expanding the use of SQUAR, so they're constantly working with the school community to make sure kids are on track. And then they have a number of grants, I won't read all these to you, but they have a number of grants that they use to support work at the school level and to support families. Next slide, please. Athletics, I loved this one when they shared this with me. So the athletics department is actually going to be sponsoring tips or questions of the month, and they shared an example. So if Josh Allen threw for 274 yards in week 1, 139 yards in week 2, 56 yards in week 3, and 23 yards in week 4, what is his average yards for the month? Show your work. So they're going to be constantly bringing like little tips and questions and opportunities for kids to engage and stay interested because it revolves around sports, but it's still academically focused. Community schools, we all know, we talked about them tonight, in fact. They have these wonderful Saturday programs. So they've been incorporating activities to focus on literacy and numeracy, which involve things like measuring for baking and math bingo and creative writing. So they're trying to keep the kids not only engaged with fun activities, but focused on the skills that they need. They've purchased book vending machines, and I got to see a few of them very recently, and the kids love them. So if they are awarded a ticket or a token for something wonderful that they have done, they actually get a free book out of a vending machine. Who would have thought that that was something that we'd be doing in Buffalo? But they have 13 different schools that have actually purchased vending machines at this point. Next slide, please. The FACE team, I love that they're offering parent portal sessions because that is our #1 way to engage families with student academics. If you don't know how your student is performing in the classroom, it's very difficult to support them at home. Parent portal, and we encourage every family member to sign up for this. Parent portal is a running record of all the grades your student has earned during the course of the school year. So it is an excellent avenue for parents to stay on top of what's happening in classrooms. They also do a lot of work at the family resource centers. They're collaborating with different organizations like Read to Succeed, Buffalo State, Canisius. They're offering tutoring, training for families, and they're going to be working on a 6th grade focused math series with VR Buffalo. Next slide, please. Here are 3 teams you probably would not associate with academics, but believe it or not, they contribute an extremely important role. So the legal department not only provides guidance to buildings, but they handle the contract negotiations. And we know that without a solid contract in place, and by the way, I believe we have 11 contracts in place in the district, without a solid contract in place, nothing really can happen. So they have done a phenomenal job of making sure everything is in line. Without Jim's budget team, we would not have the financial information that we need to actually support staffing in the buildings and to do all the work that we've talked about over the course of the evening. We wouldn't have WASED if Jim's team wasn't able to tell us where that money can come from and how much we can afford. We wouldn't have reading teachers in classrooms if they weren't able to work with us and make sure that dollars were allocated. So without the budget team and finance and all of those divisions that go with it, we would not be moving forward with these goals. So they are playing a pivotal role. I can't say enough about how HR supports this work. They have prioritized staffing. They're working very closely with my CAI team to make sure that teachers who might have to go out on leave have a temporary certified teacher replacing them. But when that's not possible, they are definitely working with the principal to ensure that there is a substitute in that space. We actually opened the year fully staffed with certified teachers in multiple areas this year, which includes math and reading and LED, which are obviously many of our target areas. And we have increased the frequency of teacher aide and teacher assistant interviews so that we can fill some of those vacancies. Next slide, please. Dr. Carestes has done a phenomenal job working with Buffalo Prep, working with our higher education institutions, working with Read to Succeed to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our families. So they have increased on-time credit accumulation. Buffalo Prep is providing preparation for Regents exams. Our college partners have increased access to college credits in our courses. And Read to Succeed has a fantastic tutoring initiative in many of our buildings. Next slide, please. I could barely fit IT on one slide, but I condensed a little bit. Sorry, Juliana. So they have ITCs, who are coaches who support work in the classrooms. They have a student technology leadership program, which grows our students to become tech experts. They are working with artificial intelligence and learning through their new tech grant. They have asset management processes that they continue to revise so we can lower the percentage of device loss and make sure kids have the digital resources they need. They provide ongoing professional development. They know that I call them every superintendent conference day asking for new training. They stay on top of things. We would not have survived COVID without them because they enabled everything that we were doing in terms of Schoology and Teams and all those programs. But infrastructure may be the most important thing. They enable our security, our network and phone operations. They collaborate with different departments to make sure that we can recover from any emergency situation. So without that infrastructure in place, many of the things that we do in classrooms day to day could not happen. Next slide, please. I can't leave off PR. Jeff Hammond and his team, Kim is here too, I believe. They have produced videos in the past. They are constantly sharing the good news of the district. And right now they're actually working with my reading team to produce and distribute tips for parents. So they're filming videos to give parents quick little tips that they can use at home with their students. We talked about WASED already tonight, so this is a brief cap. Literacy and numeracy skills are consistently reinforced. It engages kids in hands-on activities. You got to see the results of the 3D printing workshop that the kids have. You have them in your hands. It helps kids develop domain-specific vocabulary like input, output, processing, networking. Kids get to perform tests and observe and describe outcomes. So they engage with WASED in ways that they might not with a more traditional classroom experience. Next slide, please. And last, but definitely not least, operations. Without transportation, we would not have kids in our school buildings, right? So we all know how hard David Hills and his team have worked to make sure that schools are routed appropriately, that there is a ride home for every student after extended learning time, and he does his best to make sure they're on time to protect the integrity of the instructional day. Without facilities and plant operations, we would not have the beautiful building that you see right here, right? Look how clean it is. We've talked a lot about security and safety and those wonderful facets of the learning environment. The team prioritizes facilities repairs that impact classrooms, which I truly appreciate. They make sure that the classrooms are taken care of. They also are supporting our Little Scholars classrooms. They have executed 26 school projects, which improved lighting, emergency systems. They have ensured envelope integrity and promote healthy learning environments at the school setting. And then finally, they provide nutritious meal options and access to a salad bar at our schools. So I know that's a lot, and it seems varied, but without all of these things in place, we would never be able to meet our goals because these different divisions provide that infrastructure that we need to be successful in the classroom, and especially at grades 3, 6, and 9. Thank you.
And the board may be wondering, why this is important, but You know, I've been around a long time, and I've not ever seen the kind of focus and strategic focus from all areas. It's important for you to know, where does budget fit into this? Where does the legal department fit? Our PR department, WAS Ed. You know, it's important that our children attend clean schools. Where do our engineers fit? You know, warm schools, that they have meals, they have counseling. You know, our IT department is working hard. You know, Dr. Carestas and all of his work, you know, we prioritize staffing. We have fewer openings. All of our work is real strategic. So it's easy sometimes for you to think about curriculum assessment and instruction and to see how that work fits and how our ASLs, the work that they do, fits. But it's important for you to know that this really is a collective effort. And, you know, every single month, they are sharing evidences with me of the work that they are doing to help us to meet our goals. And I had a meeting this week with Bob Hartz, and he shared that he was able to meet with Dr. Evans Brown and Board Member Shuda and Board Member Woods. And you were having a very focused discussion on the goals that we have and how the work in the district, you know, it really all has to be collective, because my goals have to be the work of the district's goals. And so that work is moving forward. You know, I was pleased with the meeting that I had with him, but we just wanted to make sure that this board knows that every single cabinet member is leading work that is helping us, you know, to meet the goals of our children, all of our children, but specifically in those targeted areas that this board has charged me with. So if there are questions, I guess we would open up.
Are there any questions?
Hi. So when you had said the vending machines, so those were in the community schools, and is the community school funding that purchased those?
It's not necessarily just community schools, but they had access to funding to purchase those.
Okay, so it is accessible to all schools to be able to purchase those?
I
Or
shouldn't
if-
answer on behalf of Ramona's team, but I believe that people can access that funding.
Well, partnership schools have community school funding as well.
So for
Okay.
example, School 19 has vending machines. They're not necessarily community schools.
Okay, I'm just making sure that there's an equitable way for all schools, even if there isn't a particular partnership or whatever, that they would also have access to these. They sound wonderful. I did see them at 19, so I just feel like it's a great resource.
Oh, the kids love it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Ann, for another robust presentation. And I think it's important, just to add what Dr. Williams-Knight said, school systems are very complex, and I think when we talk about, you know, the different systems, they are all related. One of the things that stuck out for me, because, you know, we have a community that is interested in the welfare of the children. They talk about we should get truant officers back in, right? Because of the attendance problem. One of the things that stuck out for me, and I think it was under the student support services, you indicated on that slide, their home visits are being made, I guess, for children who have extreme attendance issues. That's interesting to me. How, is there a team that does that?
I believe it's the attendance teachers, but Dr. Brown is.
And as Dr. Brown is coming forward, I know I was in a meeting with the board president, and you shared your personal experience recently with an attendance teacher that was on the streets, you know, looking for a student.
Oh, yeah, her name was, I'm going to give her a shout out, attendance person Henderson, and I pulled up, she was standing outside my house, and she was looking for an address. And so I was getting ready to go somewhere, and I said, well, let me walk with you. Since you're walking on Brunswick, why not walk with you? And we went over to the house, and we talked to the young lady, and at the end of the session, or the end of the time, I had to hug her because of the amount of love and compassion that she brought to the interview. This particular student in a 3-week period had lost 2 key family members. Her mother had gone to jail, and she has a sibling that's a set of twins that are 2 years old, and a brother that's 16, and living with a grandmother who has health issues. And when the mother got sent away, she had to step in, and so she didn't come to school, and she's within 4 credits of graduating. So in addition to meeting talking to Mrs. Henderson, I offered whatever support I can offer for her, being her neighbor. And so she was pleased. She said, "Can I call you sometime?" I said, "Yeah, call me. Here's my number." But I just wanted to say, you know, people talk about attendance teachers and the money that we spend on the amount of money that we spend. I don't feel we spend enough, because there is a need for face-to-face conversation and interaction with our children. And it was just poetic. It was just poetic justice that child. And she said, "I'm going to finish," and she wants to be a nurse. Okay, and so, you know, and I spoke some life into her as well. Yes, she will be a nurse, and we will put our arms around her and make sure. And the nice thing about it is, our neighbor right next door to me, her daughter just finished becoming a nurse. So now she has somebody on the street who has gone through it who can help her. So we're going to work with that. But thank you. It was just awesome. Who would think I would be leaving out the door, getting ready to go somewhere, and she would be walking our street looking for the address, because it wasn't identified. You know, she had to get out her car and walk, and it was cold, but she was out there doing her job. So thank you for that. I told her, she wanted me to tell Miss Watson, make sure Miss Watson knows, okay, but I told the superintendent, I didn't tell Miss Watson. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing that story. And to answer your question, yes, the attendance teachers, they conduct the home visits. Also, they work, and the goal is they work collaboratively within their schools and within their student support teams. So oftentimes, they will work in tandem with a school counselor or social worker, where they will also help participate. And as you saw on the slide, there is a tiered approach. And the first level is the teacher. Second level, we're looking for conferences, the student support team. So yes, the attendance teachers, they do go out to visit along with others. And they make phone calls, and they send out letters.
That's wonderful, and I just wanted to lift that up, because people who are watching, and like I said, folks in the community want a truant officers back, but I think we don't give ourselves enough credit that we're doing these intricate things and making a difference, because the difference that Board President Cotman just explained, that example, along with what you're explaining, makes a difference in terms of kids getting back to school. You know, similarly when we talk about the suspension diversion, you know, I work in the community and I hear these stories, but to substantiate what the district is doing is wonderful to hear. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I have a question. What I'm hearing is a lot about kids that have either lost their computers or there's breakage, and a $135 fee. Is that true? That students need to pay a fee in order to have that, and that has become a hardship for some families and some hardships for schools because kids don't have that, and I'm not really sure what it is, and maybe we can explain it to the community so they have a better understanding.
Certainly. We have a variety of options over at the SIT that Director Thompson works with individual families depending on their situation. But across the board, we do have a policy so that you can imagine we have a lot of different factors involved in breakage, damage, purposeful damage, loss, et cetera. We've come up with a lot of solutions. So if families have specific issues, Director Thompson deals with them individually for their particular situation, and there are payment plans in
But
different.
it is a 135.
That is the standard statement, but it varies with conversation.
So the 135, then they can call in or work with the families. Well, do we have an idea how many computers we're talking about and the impact on the learning with these, especially these classrooms that we're, or these grade levels that we're targeting? Is there some way if these kids that are in these specific grades that we're working with, that we could work out something so they don't lose?
Yes, we have different options. We have in-school computers that will stay in school for families that opt not to want to care for them at home because of certain situations. Different grade levels, we're running data as far as our goals are concerned. We have a new asset management process that we're working with the audit department on to get better data, because COVID kind of skewed a lot. So we're working towards identifying grade levels, loss, data from our accountability office so that we can match up and set goals for a reduced loss and an increase in achievement for particular grade levels.
Okay, and then do we have an idea from principals what the impact has been? Like where is the conversation? Because I think that it's great and everything, but I mean, I'm hearing that it's a pretty widespread situation. And so I'm just kind of concerned that, that some of our students, because of this situation, are losing out and losing ground. And that's it.
So I think it's a double-edged sword almost. It's expensive. Remote instruction is expensive. Chief Shalino, about how many laptops do you have a guesstimate approximately that we've had to replace just this year?
Just this year, we've reduced dramatically due to a variety of approaches that we've taken. I would say currently, right this second, our claims in the loss category are, I want to say, around 850 that we replaced this year so far.
And it was much higher last year? Yes. So we're working with families. They do have to understand that, these devices are expensive, and, we want them to take care of them. But if we have families that are truly experiencing real hardships, that $135 fee that you talked about, is that a firm fee, or is that, not necessarily a firm fee? But if you've lost your laptop 2 or 3 times, there's got to be a little bit of responsibility in there for the students, especially the older students and families. But we don't ever want to have a day of remote learning where kids are going without having access.
And we will be putting into play a insurance policy option. We're working with audit on that for the upcoming school year, which greatly reduces the costs associated. So
the parents would pay for the insurance, or the district would?
Well, we're working on that. Most districts have a parent payment. It's typically around $25 to $35 if you want to opt to do that in case. And it's a pretty good deal. It's pretty common. However, we're in discussion on that. We have not set that firmly, but we have a lot of research going on right now with it.
Okay.
I can also add that last year when we were getting ready for the SATs and PSATs, IT came out, they had devices, they made sure that everybody had the access they needed. So they were right on the money with that.
This is just from my observation from being a student and seeing from a student perspective. A lot of students don't even bring their laptop to school due to the fact they don't want to risk losing it or breaking it or messing it up. So what is the point of laptop if they're scared to bring it to school, which is the whole point of having the laptop to begin with? So there needs to be some way around where students aren't hesitating to bring their devices to school, where that's meant to be for schools, because of the fact they're scared to break it or something happening to it, they're losing it or something. And I do understand they're supposed to be responsible for their devices, but I am more comfortable bringing my own device to school than a school laptop. That shouldn't be the way.
We are, if I may, we are currently finishing our audit for storage, our storage audit with all the carts that we have in the district. So we'll be offering that as well. We're working with Principal Patel and collaborating on what policies we're going to put into place and recommend with the principals for the upcoming school year, including a major storage changeover with our cart system to accommodate a lot of that.
Thank you.
Well, I have a concern here because I don't ever remember hearing a $135 fee. So what policy is it?
That, everything I can get to you, it's all on the website, it's very detailed. That is a general fee. Again, that doesn't, like, if there are keys missing or a broken hinge, that's not the same cost. So that's just a starter. I will send out, though, to Superintendent Williams-Knight, where you can find all the information that is available for everyone in the public.
Okay, the only reason I said that is because oftentimes when I get calls from schools, people have said that the board has done this, the board said this, that, and the other, and it's the board policy, and it's this, that, and the other, and oftentimes it has nothing to do with the board. And so I want to make sure that if we have a policy that the board is aware of it, if nothing else, but the other part to that is that what other ways can we accommodate people? And so I'm curious to know, this might be something that you would put under educational support, Terry, to have a full disclosure of it under the next school year. But we need to know what's going on, because I'm being told in one of my schools that there were not enough computers to meet the needs for the children. And so as a result, classroom sets were taken out of the buildings. And so there was a time where the schools had maybe 2 sets or 3 sets that they could run around the building, but because of shortage, there has not been a case. And as a result of that, students are without computers. So we need to look at that. If that's a concern, a principal did bring that to my attention. Yes, Jennifer.
I've received now twice a text that says that IT only accepts cash, no credit cards or any other form of payment. Is that true? Is there a way around that? Is that part of policy?
That was true. Again, we are working with audit. We are going to be rolling out very soon our new system that we will accept payment cards. We do accept payment plans, and so all of that will be rolled together because of that need. Director Thompson has identified, as she's been working with the public and listening to what they've been saying when they come in. So we have a lot of options. We'd be happy to come if you want the presentation. And as a point of note, the cost of the devices are over $700. So we're really trying to be reasonable. We'd be happy to have conversations about what an appropriate level would be, but I do think the insurance, if I could get you some of that information once we get it set, will help a lot as well. So there's a lot of options that we're putting into play.
And I just want to point out that that just shows the growth in how this, however-year-old district we have, is starting to move things in the right direction. So yes, apparently this was a truth to those folks, but now we're looking to change it so there's more options. So thank you.
I have a quick question regarding the insurance. Is that going to be like some sort of monthly plan that's going to fall on the students or the parents, or is that going to be on Buffalo Public School or the IT department? Are we going to be responsible to pay a monthly fee for it? Because that sounds like a business scheme then.
Not did you say monthly fee? No.
Or it's a yearly
It'd be a
fee, whatever.
It could be. There are options. It's a one-time fee, a flat fee, and like in most districts, about $25, $35 for the year for the device. And if you lose it, you pay nothing.
Okay.
So, but again, when we get all of that outlined, that'll be a conversation to say, does the district, do we have funds in the IT department to pay for that? Or are we going to go in a different direction and have a different funded source? So we're working on that because I do think that will be a really attractive option.
Got it. Thank you.
So we have a lot of funding sources. We just haven't asked for them. We have people that are getting multiple $1 million contracts, and we haven't asked them to assist us for a community benefit agreement. And guess what? If that was the case, there would be money to replace computers and things like that. You want me to add that on now? Okay, what item is it? One moment, Mr. Baines. Every time I see a contract that comes before the board and does not have a community benefit agreement, it just rubs me the wrong way. One of the things that we did in this building when we were parents, we used to have a big festival every spring. We did not pay for anything. It came to us from potato chips to meat to everything because of the support of the community, Lay's potato chips and all these other people. And so for me, I just stand strong on the Bible verse that you have not because you ask not. Okay, and if you're getting $1 million from Buffalo Public Schools, what is it to offer $10,000 to the kids of this district? Mr. Barnes, you have something?
Yes,
Huh?
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Barnes.
I would just like to add some context to this inventory and insurance and other new procedures that are being put in place by Juliana. 4 years ago and then 3 years ago, we were the subject of a state audit where there was probably $10 million in lost computers, theft, failure to return. It was cited in a New York State audit. So the measures that Juliana is taking, working with some of my staff to put in place proper inventory, to put in place proper return procedures, possibly insurance, those are all in direct response to what was a huge crisis that she has done a great job in starting to mitigate, a great job. And it was a big problem.
I'm just curious
Becoming a
why the
smaller
board
one.
didn't know about that audit.
It would have been submitted.
I mean, if we're losing $10 million in computers, that seems like something that should have been brought to finance and ops and had a discussion with the board saying that this is a problem and we need, and we're going to be putting actions in place. To hear about it 3 years later is concerning because I'm still going to go back to the fact we have not because we asked not. I would like to see some of our vendors that receive huge amounts of money from us supplement us in ways that we can use this. And we need to talk about it, so it's going to come to committee, I hope.
So I'm sorry, just one last comment. I hope I made it clear that it was a huge problem truly being rectified by Juliana. But there'll be some stops and starts. And then secondly, regarding funding sources for IT, we use Smart School Bond Acts, we use grants, we use the general fund. Just this year, we purchased $7 million in replacement computers. So we're devoting the resources and trying to fix a problem.
And I'm glad that it is being, focused on. But 4 years ago, shame on us.
Yeah.
That it got out of control and that this happened. So shame on us and shame on whoever was watching this.
Yeah.
So I would say this for 4 years ago, because, we were in a pandemic. So, I think all of this was just new for all of us 4 years ago, where all the kids from kindergarten had iPads and laptops and, so, it was a huge learning curve.
And it's true.
So.
But can I also say this, though? Back when there was, in the beginning, when this all started to evolve, the laptops, and there were the carts, and there were procedures, and we locked them up, and we did and it was a much easier way to keep a lid on it. But no, I appreciate your efforts, and it's not an easy task, but I know that I'm just getting a lot of feedback about this $135.
A lot of money if you don't have any, 135. Thank you. No other questions on that. There is one other question, Chief Juliana, that's coming up for you, so you might not want to run to your seat. Okay, right, you might want to stay close. Okay. If everyone's minds are clear, it's the only question we have. Is everything okay, Anna? You finished with your presentation? I want to thank you. Thank you, everything. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. So I need, thank you. We're moving forward. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from the previous board meeting? So Larry, second by Jen, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Consent agenda. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Terry, second by Paulette. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we only have one item tonight for the consent agenda. Number 18C, addendum purchase of replacement student iPads from board member Jennifer McCool.
So yeah, the question came up as we were talking about this. So this request here, is this based on what you were saying you were doing the research on, the loss and all, or is this something completely different? Like, what was the data that brought this to the table?
This is a completely different situation with Apple and their price quoting and what they did not include in the last quote that they missed, and then we had to send it back for the amendment. This is for another portion of what happens when we have to deploy our iPads, and when that's what it's for.
Okay, understandable. It just all tied in, so.
Okay, no, thank you, no problem.
That was easy. Okay. Sir? Hold on a second. Okay, let me do something first. I need to do two things. Point of order in regards to prior to the board meeting, the board went into executive session to discuss matters related to the employment and potential discipline and/or dismissal of a specific district employees. 2, an appeal of a 3230F complaint filed by C.S. and 3, for the purpose of receiving legal advice. No official action was taken. Vice President Kathy Evans-Brown.
Can I have a motion to excuse Cindy McCutcheon and Terrence Hurd from tonight's board meeting?
Second.
Larry, second. Terry Shuda. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's keep moving. Mary, our kind-hearted lawyer and confidant, would you poll the board?
Certainly. With respect to the consent agenda, Vice President Evans-Brown, do you have any exceptions?
No exceptions.
Board Member Makosi? Board Member Rivera?
No exceptions.
Board Member Shuta? And other than that, any exceptions?
No.
Vice President Scott?
No exceptions.
Board Member Woods?
No exceptions.
And President Belton-Cotman?
No exceptions.
And the consent agenda is approved.
Thank you. Now up next is our resolutions. Safety and partnership with Buffalo Police Department, submitted by Honorable Larry Scott, Vice President of Student Achievement, Member at Large, co-sponsored by Paulette Wood Central District. Since then, I have seen all the board members' names be added. Mine, I would like to add my name on this as well. Mr. Scott, could you please tell us about your resolution?
Sure, thank you, President Belton-Cotman. So for both resolutions that I am introducing tonight, We have several co-sponsors. It appears as if it's everybody, but Dr. Ann Rivera, you will be on it? Okay, so we'll add Dr. Ann Rivera as well. I didn't hear from Board Member Hurd. So it looks like everybody is being added as sponsors for, I believe, both the resolutions, but we'll start with this resolution now. Just to give some background, we currently, the district does not have an MOU, a contract, a policy in place that governs how the Buffalo Police Department and our SROs work with us on a district level, work with us in our schools. We certainly value our SROs and the involvement of our Buffalo Police Department. We find them critical to be partners with us and working with us. And so we believe, though, at least this resolution, the sentiment is that we believe we should have some sort of formal agreement in place, especially when we also have been paying for services for several years. So the resolution reads, whereas the safety of our schools, staff, and students is an utmost priority of the Buffalo Board of Education, whereas the Buffalo Police Department has approximately 10 school resource officers assigned to respond to calls from any school located within the city of Buffalo, including public, charter, and private, whereas the BPD assign SROs to the Buffalo Public Schools sporting and extracurricular events, whereas there are no SROs physically assigned to any BPS building, whereas BPS Security and Buffalo Peacemakers, an anti-violence and gang intervention community-based organization, work with the BPD to ensure safety of our schools and students, whereas the BPS has compensated the city of Buffalo for services by the BPD personnel, whereas no formal agreement, MOU, or contract exists between BPS and BPD. Therefore, be it resolved, the board requests that BPS establish a formal written agreement with the BPD to be approved by the board, and which will formally govern how the BPD and SROs will work with the district in each of our BPS buildings in order to execute effective communication, collaboration, and ultimately the safety of our schools and students, and which will also detail the payments to be made to the City of Buffalo services rendered by BPD personnel. Further, it be resolved, the establishment of this agreement include stakeholders deemed necessary by BPS and BPD.
May I have a motion to consider? Paulette Woods, second by Dr. Cassie Evans Brown. This resolution is up for discussion. Does anyone want to comment on here or say anything at this point? I'd like to go on record to say that by no means does this resolution reflect that the superintendent and our attorney and staff have not been working toward this effort. And I want that to be clear, okay? That it is important that the public understands that we spend upwards of around almost $190,000 a year, and we are concerned for the students of this district. And this issue has been going on since I've been on the board, okay? They were working on it in 2011, and it typically goes like this. The Board of Education tries to get something in writing, nothing happens, it sits forever. And I'm not really quite sure what happens if this doesn't generate some activity, what the board will do. Dr. Woods, you have something you'd like to say?
I just want to say that generally accepted accounting principles require, before we pay a dime to another municipality, that we have an agreement spelling out what we're paying for and the chain of command, and that is a requirement. So that's why I'm supporting this resolution, because clarity and generally accepted accounting principles require that we have one. So let's just do the right thing.
Board member Board Member Shuda.
And I would like to echo that the superintendent has truly worked hard on trying to get this in place. And I am hopeful perhaps now with the new administration in City Hall, maybe this is the time for us to start fresh and let's just get it done.
Yes, Board Member McCool.
So just for clarity's sake, the 190, 185, 190, what is that paying for? I thought the SROs were paid by BPD.
I know that that pays for the chief.
Okay.
And his benefits.
Police and his benefits.
Yeah, and his benefits.
For the chief, so Chief Young? I'm sorry,
I didn't want-
I shouldn't have said that.
The chief that's assigned to Buffalo Public Schools, yeah.
Okay. Well, that clears up a lot, so, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Scott.
I just want to echo what my fellow board members have shared, and I should have started with that the superintendent and general counsel Scarpine have certainly made sincere attempts to resolve this matter. General counsel Scarpine knows that I've been on this since September, and I know that she has tried hard to get this worked out before getting to this point where the Board of Education is taking action on it.
Okay, all minds settled, may we have a vote? A motion to approve. Motion to approve. I get Dr. Evans-Brown and Board Member Cherry Shuda. Okay.
With respect to the motion on the resolution regarding the MOU with the police department, how do you vote, Vice President Evans-Brown? Yes. Board Member Makosi? Board Member Rivera? Yes. Board Member Shuta? Yes. Vice President Scott?
Yes.
Board Member Woods?
Definitely.
And President Felton Common?
Yes.
It is unanimously passed and
Okay,
approved.
thank you. Our next item, number 26B, is the resolution for affirming the rights and values and dignity of all Buffalo Public School students. This is also sponsored by Honorable Board Member Larry Scott, Vice President of Student Achievement, Member at Large, co-sponsored by every board member at the table and not at the table. So it is a unanimously endorsed resolution. Mr. Scott, you have the floor.
And just to give background on this resolution, I heard from staff and parents concerned about what's coming with the administration that will be beginning in January in DC. As many of us, all of us know, some threats, some claims have certainly been made, and somebody directed me to Chicago Public Schools Board of Education that passed a very strong resolution similar to this that I used as a guide to create this resolution that I'm introducing tonight. And it really is, there's many of our families, many of our students, parents that are concerned, that are fearful and uncertain about what's coming. And I felt it was necessary for us as a Board of Education and district to go on record affirming the rights and values and dignity of all of our students. And this is a little bit longer, but I feel it's important to read everything into the record. So whereas the Buffalo Board of Education wholeheartedly embraces its commitment to creating and maintaining a safe and inclusive environment for all BPS students and staff, whereas the New York State Dignity for All Students Act, board policy, and the district code of conduct require that no student or staff member be subjected to discrimination, harassment, or bullying based on, but not limited to, a person's race, color, weight, nationality, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, or sex. Whereas students and staff are entitled to their First Amendment right to free speech, but harassment and discrimination have no place in BPS and communities and will not be tolerated. Whereas students and staff deserve safe and supportive spaces to learn and grow, with BPS providing opportunities, guidance, and resources to support civic learning and engagement and a culturally responsive education. Whereas BPS students, staff, and families originate from many different countries and may have received temporary legal status under DACA, or may be undocumented and/or may live in mixed status households. Whereas BPS has approximately 6,600 students with disabilities, 5,100 English language learners, 25,000 students who are economically disadvantaged, 25,500 students who are American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Black, Hispanic, multiracial, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Whereas proclamations on a national level may have caused fear, concern, and uncertainty in BPS students, staff, and families. Whereas claims have been made to abolish the United States Department of Education, therefore be it resolved, the board and BPS remain steadfast. Go ahead. Therefore be it resolved, the board and BPS remain steadfast in its commitment to the rights, values, and dignity of all of our students, including our students under the legal status of DACA or who are undocumented. Further it be resolved, the board and BPS will not permit access to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement to BPS buildings, students, and staff unless legally required to do so. And further be it resolved, the board and BPS remain supportive of the existence and mission of the U.S. Department of Education and its role in supporting states and local educational agencies by promoting student achievement and equality in many imperative ways, including but not limited to implementing the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, providing funding for students with disabilities, providing Title I funding for services to low-income students, and enforcing civil rights.
Who would think in 2024 that we would have to have this conversation? Okay, may I have a motion to, for the board to consider? Okay, Paulette Wood, second by Jennifer, Board Member Jennifer Mercuzzi. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, open for discussion at this point. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Well, I think I would like to comment on what Dr. Ocelsa brought to the table today. And unfortunately, Dr. K has left the room, but in your almost to the last paragraph, you said, unless legally required to do so. I think if you would not mind a friendly amendment being added, the documents that she brought to us today, because according to what she shared with us, that in New York State, there are guidelines. I think she said it goes back to 2017, and that there's also something I think that the commissioner has put out also, that we just add those in to strengthen this, because that was new information for us, or will help refresh my mind. Dr. Caresi, we are talking about adding to this resolution the information that Dr. Ocelsa brought to us to strengthen this, where she talked about the 217 legislation that was done. I think it was state. We didn't get a chance to see it, but you said you were going to share it with us. Are you in agreement with adding that in? Because I think it would strengthen this.
Anything that gives us the protection to protect our students. But I'll defer to General Counsel, because this was something that she and I were kind of tweaking and making sure that it wouldn't get us in any legal trouble, the wording of it.
I did not see either what was handed out or for dissemination to the board. I will say, if it was still saying, because I think what was being referred to is certain things that would be illegal and you would not allow access to. So I do believe that the resolution as written right now still covers everything, with saying unless legally required. So it It would have to be legally required. If it's not something that is permissible, that would be a problem. I think to amend it,
It's not necessary.
I don't think it's necessary,
Okay.
but if it did want it to be amended, it might be one to either table and reconsider or pass and then amend at a future meeting, just to give everyone an opportunity to
Well, I think
review
we
it.
certainly should pass it, if we have to add. I think there's also a commissioner regulation out there, and I also think there's something out there, and I want to share with the board that I was at a diversity, equity, and inclusion meeting for New York State School Board Association in November, and one of the board members brought up that in their district, they had schools targeted for one group of people, which was the Haitians, and they were coming into their building. And I think that when we say unless we're legally required to do so, what does that look like, Mary?
Well, I can tell you, even right now, the school district does not just hand over documents regarding students or employees to even law enforcement. Even if the Buffalo Police Department asks for information, there has to be a mechanism by which they're entitled to it on legal grounds.
Okay.
So it could be a subpoena, a warrant, court order, something along those lines that would enable them to receive the information, but it won't be like if a police officer walks in and says, I want this information on this student, we don't just give it to them. We make them go through the requirements, and it's no different here. It would be at the federal level, if it's ICE or anyone else coming in, they have to show us that they actually have a legal entitlement to receive this information.
Show us. Define that. Does that mean that it comes to your office, that you look at
Yes.
it before the principal makes a decision to do it?
Yes.
So that's the second, I think, notification, Dr. Williams, today that we might want to put out there in regards to this, that they don't have the authority just to turn over a child. It has to go through legal to make sure it's legitimate.
And I will tell you, schools are actually already doing that. When they receive subpoenas or information requests, and if there's any type of reach out now, they do reach out to our office regularly. And if they go to the board office, they reach out to us directly, and we send it to the right personnel after review from us to make sure that the proper authorizations are there, proper court orders are there, to allow us to actually release that information.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Can they stand outside our building and snatch a child?
I would say not on school grounds. I would argue not on school grounds.
Okay.
They would still have to have an entitlement to it. I think right now it is still a protected area, so they're not supposed to be engaging in that type of activity on school grounds.
Okay, just want to make sure. So if all of the minds are clear, can I have a motion to accept this resolution? A motion to
Approve or pass.
approve it. Sorry, it's getting late. No, we brought it to the table. Now we have to vote on it. So Paulette, Larry, all right, Jennifer, and, okay, thank you. Tell us getting late. Okay.
With respect to the resolution regarding the rights, values, and dignity of the students, it's a longer title than that. But with respect to that resolution, how do you vote? Vice President Evans Brown? Yes. Board Member Makosi? Yes. Board Member Rivera? Yes. Board Member Shuta? Vice President Scott?
Yes.
Board Member Woods? And President Felton-Cotman?
Yes.
Unanimously passes.
Okay, thank you. We're almost there, people. We're almost there. Okay. With the board's permission, we will waive any committee reports. Thank you. Moving forward, we have an unfinished business item. I need to read this. Based on the findings and recommendations of the investigator hired by the Buffalo Board of Education pursuant to the district's 3230F discrimination and harassment complaint procedure, which has been confidentially reviewed by the board, as this is a matter related to the employment and potential discipline of specific district employees, can I have a motion denying the appeal filed with the Buffalo Board of Education by initial C.S. which appealed a decision rendered by the superintendent upholding an earlier determination of the Department of Human Resource. I need Jennifer, second by Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. All right. So I wanted to leave under unfinished business. We wanted the board, if the board wanted to talk or share any sentiments with Dr. Rivera now that she's regrouped. I'd just like to say that she's been a sense of reasoning, a stable force on our board, and I appreciate working with you. I look forward to working with you in the future, hopefully with some projects associated with the institution that you work for, and I want to thank you for your commitment. It is not easy to be a board member, and it certainly it requires oftentimes a lot, and it can be a thankless position, but then at times it's the most rewarding thing that you can ever do. So I want to thank you for that. Does any other board members want to share any sentiment, or am I the only one?
You're not getting rid of me. This is just another, I'm just, you kept me calm during a lot, so folks know when I would get aggravated, Ann would see it, and I'd look up at her, and she'd be like, and I would calm down. So I'm hoping that someone picks up that role, because this is a challenging job. But Ann, I know you're going to do great things moving forward. I'm excited for you to be spending more time with your family.
Thank you.
I already shared my personal sentiments with Ann, but I wish her luck and thank you for teaching me.
Yes, Dr. Rivera, we had a lot in common. For the last 5 years, as a board member, it is hard, especially when you are still raising children, which you are, and having full-time commitments in another job, as well as this work. This is a job. So I know we will meet again. This is just a farewell, from the board, a temporary farewell. We know you're going to always have a passion, for the work. And it's important as a board member to have passion and God bless.
Certainly, we wish well to our departing board members, Mr. Terrence Hurd, as well as Dr. Ann Revere. Without further ado, we'll do our bereavements, and then we will please stand, and then we will work our way out of here.
Okay, bereavements, December 18th, 2024. October 27th, Sarah Marie Hobler, ENL teacher at Discovery School number 67, daughter of Tammy Hobler, retired summer school teacher. November 23rd, Willie Ida Green, mother of Sharon Perrin, teacher at West Hurdle Academy. Desiree Steinhaus, administrative assistant of social, emotional, and wellness supports, and grandmother of Jalea Green, school counselor of number 357 Pathways. November 26th, Mary Margaret Dempsey, retired South Park teacher. November 27th, Jacob J. Turley, brother of Jorin Ford, supervisor of math. December 7th, Major Crawford, student resource officer and retired teacher aide. December 8th, Cornelius Keene, father-in-law of Jackie Keene, a teacher at Discovery School number 67. December 11th, Dolores Oates, building-based substitute at Stanley Mikowski number 99. December 12th, Joanne Hairston, retired administrative assistant at Central Registration for the Buffalo Public Schools. And lastly, December 16th, Deacon Thomas Allen, father of Tanika Cedric, associate superintendent of school leadership, grandfather of Jasmine Coles, teacher assistant at Build Community School, and cousin of Marilyn Nixon, retired teacher of McKinley High School, Kim Nixon Williams, temporary principal of Harriet Ross Tubman School, and Christina Nixon Douglas, teacher at Waterfront Elementary School. May we bow our heads in silence. Amen.
Without further ado, unless the board wants to stay here longer, may I have a motion to conclude this meeting?